This podcast was recorded on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation.
Guys, welcome back to another week of Mad About You. I know you guys are probably sick of me doing the intros, but Jad's literally too scared to do them because she's worried about stuffing them up. So here we are, another week, and we have to start with another crazy dating story. And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't say this one's crazy. It's definitely not wild, but it certainly does pose a couple of questions. And I received this DM, which Jad actually received it. I'm lying. She sent it through to me. But I received this DM, and it says... Firstly, it says, if you end up using this, could I stay anonymous? Of course. We never share your names. I'm not going to say like, hey, this is Jess Smith. Here's her ass.
You just said her name.
That's a hypothetical, guys. She obviously doesn't. Jesus. Made herself laugh. That's a good
start. I make joke.
All right. So it starts. It says, once I went on a double date to get ice cream with my best friend, her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's friend. I had never met the friend. We were both single, and I personally thought, oh my God, maybe we might hit it off. We get into the ice cream shop and me and the guy order together. I thought we were vibing so far. The cashier asks if we are paying together, and before I can say anything, he goes, hang on, and reaches for his pocket. I was thinking like, oh my God, what a gentleman. He's going to buy me my ice cream. I was very mistaken. He was grabbing his phone, ellipses, to call his dad, to ask him to transfer him money. Also, probably a little bit of relevant backstory. This guy drives an Audi, wears all these flashy clothes, etc. I'm standing there awkwardly thinking, do I just pay for us? But like also, will that hurt his ego? I don't know. So I just wait for him to get off the phone. When he does, he turns to me and says, my dad only transferred me money for my ice cream.
Sorry.
I can't get yours.
Pause. Pause. Sorry, guys. That was almost a snot rocket. You've called your dad. You've gone, Dad, need some money for ice cream. Has he gone, how much was one scoop? And then transferred you $5.70? Like, what?
Yeah, perhaps. Well, maybe this guy's done the maths. His dad's just transferred him $10 and it's, $6.50, and so he's done some quick maths and realised he can't get two for that price.
I just find that's so weird already.
Do you reckon he said to Dad, like, look, Dad, I'm really trying to impress this girl right now. I need 15.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
Okay, can we get on with? Let me just finish the story.
Hang on. Okay, yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. He goes, I can't get yours, and taps his card and walks off to the side. I was standing there like. And she's done an emoji of like eyes wide open. My friend and her boyfriend witnessed the whole thing and we were like, yikes. I go to pay for mine, but then my friend's boyfriend wanted to pay for all three of us.
Gentlemen. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's the old should a guy pay on the first date thing that you guys touched on. Look, maybe I read the vibes wrong and obviously he's not obligated to pay for me, but at the same time, we're all adults and it was like a $5 ice cream.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just so awkward and made the rest of the date weird. Maybe he really just wasn't into me. Haha. I can confirm we did not end up hitting it off. He ended up honestly just being kind of rude and cocky, and the four of us never caught up again.
Oh, my God. But it's not even paying for a date. It's paying for an ice cream. It's not like you've gone out and had a 3-course meal and 7 drinks. It's an ice cream that you're not even paying for. Daddy is. What?
Yeah, so what are you trying to say?
Pay for the bloody ice cream.
He can't.
Even if I wasn't on a date and I'd gone up to a counter with someone who I wasn't on a date with, I would just probably tap my card for their ice cream. Right?
Oh, all right, baller.
like... $5.
I just like when she said, like, we're all adults here. Well, clearly he's actually not an adult.
3 of you are adults.
If you don't have a job or access to your own money because you work and you're calling your parents, then I wouldn't really class you as an adult.
I actually need to share. I've been in a similar situation before where I've gone on a date and it started off, oh my God, he picked me up and the first thing he says, I've gotten into his mum's car, obviously.
How do you know? Why is that obvious?
He told me.
That's obvious.
It was a lovely Range Rover. He was definitely too young to afford one at the time. I've gotten into his mum's car and he takes a look at the apartment that I've walked out and gone, oh, you live there? Like, as in to insinuate that, he was surprised by like the lack.
Was your apartment not nice or something? Is that what
it's just an old red brick apartment. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just, I don't know what he was expecting, like a mansion or something. But yeah, and so that's how the date started off.
How did you guys meet? Like off Instagram
online,
or something? Because
yeah.
maybe you were giving off mansion vibes with your photos.
Instagram. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Living a champagne life on a beer budget, apparently.
Amen. Alcohol-free beer.
So we've gone to our destination, and that's how the date started off. So I'm immediately feeling uncomfy. We've gotten to the restaurant and we've sat down, and he's looking at the menu and he's gone, and I'm like, is everything okay? And he's like, no, not really. And I've gone, oh, what's wrong? And he's like, I'm going to have to call my mum to ask for more money for dinner.
How old were you?
I think maybe 19.
I mean, better than 22, but still, yeah.
Maybe a bit older, actually. I might have been 20. I don't know.
We met around that time, so this is getting a bit hazy.
It was around those early 20s or late teen years. And so he literally got up from the table, walked a couple of metres away, called his mum and asked for more money for dinner.
Well, at least he didn't do it at the table. That's kind of thoughtful.
I'm just sitting there thinking, like, not only have you made a comment about me living in an apartment that I live in on my own and I'm paying for, but now you've gone to call your mum to ask for money for dinner, right?
Wait, are you asking me if that's right? Yeah, that seems like you've told the story right.
What a loser.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's probably I wouldn't take girls
didn't even
out on
pretend to hide
dates
it.
to restaurants if you didn't have the money to do so. I think that's a recipe for disaster to
But
start
also,
with.
if you do need to call a parent, like, same advice to this guy that this chick's been on a
so you got to go
kind
to
of
the toilet or something and sneak off.
Why are you saying it in front of the chick? Hey, got to call my mum, got to call my dad for some money.
No shame. Well, I guess let's say you grew up in a circle where everyone's sort of the same, is that you might not view that behavior as strange. You know,
Sure.
that might be what all your friends do when they need something, and
Okay.
you might think that this girl is no different, that when she needs something, she does the same thing. So, like,
Yeah.
you got to understand that kids are, a little bit daft sometimes and might just think that the world revolves around them and that everyone is in the same scenario and situation as them.
I certainly never called the bank of mum and dad.
I also just think it's so funny when she said that he drives an Audi and wears flashy clothes, and then when she said he ended up being like cocky and rude, and it's like, what are you cocky about? If you've got, he's obviously not. You're obviously not really self-made. You're just kind of wearing the facade of mum and dad. So I'm not really sure what you're bringing to the table and how can you be cocky after asking dad for $5 to buy your ice cream?
Oh, people are.
Yeah, I struggle to sort of understand how that works. But
We're glad you didn't end up with the bloke. He sounds like a bit of a
lovely story.
tosspot.
Maybe your friend, the boyfriend that paid for your ice cream, maybe if that doesn't work out, you have a crack at him.
Lachlan,
What?
what's wrong with you?
Ask your friend, obviously.
That's terrible
check that it's all
advice.
right. Why?
Don't listen to him.
Well, you don't have any friends that have dated people that their friends have dated?
Well, no, but it's not. I wouldn't throw it out there before they've even confirmed broken up.
No, I'm just saying if they do, think about maybe that avenue. He sounds
Questioning
like a
your
good
moral
bloke.
compass currently. The other day, I posted on my stories, we did a question box, and we've said that we will answer any of your questions that you send through. So we've kind of plucked the most common ones, and we're gonna answer some of those questions that are mostly about us and our newfound relationship with baby. We're kicking things off with, what is a trait that you admire about the other that you wish you had? Locke, I'm going to throw to you.
I think something that you do really well, and at times I've thought actually to your detriment, but I think it is a really good trait to have, is that you have a seriously YOLO attitude sometimes of just do it, whether it's with travel or the business or going out to eat, like just anything, you're kind of like, yeah, let's just do it. And I definitely don't operate on the same wavelength as that. I'm a little bit more, I don't know, I guess you could say skeptical, or I go through every little thing in my head of why we should or why we shouldn't, and I toss up the pros and cons and I write a bloody list, and that's sort of how I operate. And, you just have this carefree, blasé attitude to some things that I consider quite big, and you just can, chuck it over your shoulder like it's nothing.
Yeah,
and
can
we
I
get
jump
on.
in here, actually?
Oh, yeah, sure.
If this is something about me that you like and admire, why didn't you respect my wishes to move to that house that I saw on Domain the other day?
Guys, I can't tell you. Okay, Okay, we're in studio right now, right?
Yeah.
And we've left Fletcher at home with your mum, for example.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. It took us 7 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
Tell them how long it would have taken from this house that you showed me on Domain.
Oh, a bit longer.
No, tell them the figure.
All right, maybe an hour and a half.
An hour and a half, both ways.
Yeah,
It's
but
not-
we could bring him.
It's not viable.
Bring him, drop him at mum's. I've thought about this all. Then pick him up. What's the issue? It just becomes a day trip.
Yeah, okay.
So can we move?
Sometimes. Do you remember at the beginning I said to your detriment? I said sometimes it's to your detriment. So, for example, when you go on absolutely rogue trips that perhaps you couldn't afford when you were a bit younger and then you came home with empty bank accounts.
No, that was mad.
I don't really think that's like the smartest thing to do or
Your younger years are not for being smart.
But I also think that it is a good trait because, you know, I think that it's led you down a certain path in life and it's taken you in a certain route. And, you know, I do think to myself, since meeting you, I've definitely become more like that. I think I've taken more risks and done more things like that. But I also think where my life could have been if I was more like that before I met you, you know, and you never know, you know, sort of what path you may have taken. But it's definitely something I admire about you.
You'll always regret the things that you haven't done more than the things that you have done. That's how I live.
Thank you, Confucius.
Put that on the fridge, guys.
All right, what about you? What do I do that you like and wish you had?
You're very selfless. And yeah, it's absolutely something I admire about you and always have. And you're just constantly thinking about others and how you can make their lives easier before your own. And sometimes, again, I think it's to your detriment. Sometimes I want you to put you first. But, you know, you're always the first person who's going to stand up and give your seat away or hold a door open for someone or ask to help on a plane if, you know, you see an older lady trying to pull their bag down and it's just like you're constantly looking to help other people in whatever way that you can and, yeah, sacrifice your own needs for others. So I love that about you. I think it's really beautiful and I'm very, very proud of you when I see you kind of go out of your way for other people.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I remember listening to something or reading something recently and it didn't mean as much to me when I first listened to it. And then since having a kid and, you know, you have your own family unit and you're responsible for this thing, it hit me even more. And it said like, I will always suffer for those that I love so they don't have to suffer instead, you know? And I remember reading that at the start, and when you don't have a kid, you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's a nice sentiment. But then when you have a kid, like you really, truly feel that, you know. And I will always, you know, I take great pride in the fact that I will suffer so that you and Fletcher don't have to. And I think that a lot of people, perhaps men, I can't speak for women, but I think a lot of men feel that in family, you know, units and scenarios where they will happily sacrifice so that their family doesn't have to. And I think it's also a beautiful feeling. So as much as it is, you know, you say it's a nice trait, it's also, you know, it's a selfish thing because it makes me feel good to do that for you, you know,
well,
which is
at the end of the
weird.
day, no, it's not selfish, but it's lovely that you feel that way about it. And it shows because it definitely comes from, you know, your heart. It's not like you're not doing it to look a certain way. You're doing it because you really care and it's very authentic. So, yeah, that makes sense, I guess, that you enjoy it.
I guess it shows that you're with the right person if you're willing to do that. All right, next question we have is what advice would you give yourself last year before you had Fletcher?
I don't think there is any. I think I did. I couldn't, you can't. There's no piece of advice that would, for example, assist me in what I'm doing now or that would have prepared me for this experience. And I think I did everything that I felt that I wanted to do in the lead up. So like I worked really hard, you know, and made sure that I'd kind of done a lot of work in the lead up to having Fletcher because, you know, obviously the work that we do is laid out a bit differently to a 9 to 5 and what you put out is what you get back. So, you know, worked really hard and made sure that we were, supported for this time where we wanted to just focus on being at home with Fletch. I was quite I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Indulgent, went to nice restaurants and got massages and, did things that I know would be harder to do in the beginning when I had a Barb. And, I'd done a lot of travel prior and kind of felt that I was in a good place to kind of have a break from traveling in the lead up to Fletcher coming. So, yeah, I don't know if I have any advice for myself before Fletcher came along. And, we spent a lot of quality time together, which was great. We really needed that too. So, yeah, I don't think I'd say maybe try to exercise more.
You know how you just said you don't have any advice, but you just gave like 4 things that was advice?
No, but I did all those things. That wasn't advice I'd give myself. Those were things that I'd done. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, just pretend like you're giving that advice to someone else. Then,
oh, okay. Well, there you go. Do all those things, guys.
No, I don't disagree. I think they're good ways to look at it, to, be a little bit indulgent because, the time comes where your little one will be here and suddenly it's not about you anymore. So that's a nice tip. And then, travel obviously becomes difficult. And I think definitely if you want to take some time off with your partner, if you have the luxury of doing that, I know some people don't, depending on their work situations, but to, set yourself up financially and maybe, don't splurge as much in the lead up and don't spend as much and have yourself a little rainy day fund so that you can, spend time with your family in this, initial stages, which you'll never have them as a newborn again and have this stage with your partner. So I think that's, that's really good advice.
Absolutely.
I think something that you should definitely do before having a kid is work on your relationship and make sure that if there's any, chinks in the armor that you've got them out or you've filled them up. Because I think if you're not strong as a couple and you have a kid, you're going to crumble. And so I think my advice to anyone having a kid is make sure that your relationship is rock solid when this baby comes, because it does shift so much. The dynamic shifts so much when you have this kid and, you become a little bit distant and you're not able to show as much love and affection. And I can see those chinks widening and becoming even bigger when you have a kid if you haven't, worked on them beforehand. So I would just suggest, and, I think we have a very strong foundation. And as you said, we spent lots of quality time together and we made sure that was a priority before we had Fletch and now, we're in, it's almost been 3 months and we haven't had any quality time together. So, perhaps if you didn't have that beforehand, you'd be craving it now, but we sort of had our fix and we understand that it's going to be different temporarily. But
So are you saying that we had creases that needed ironing out, or are you just speaking to like a proverbial yourself?
Yeah, I'm saying that I think.
Because the question is, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself last year before you had Fletcher?
Okay.
Did we have issues?
No, we didn't have issues, but I'm saying I
thought we were pretty solid.
Yeah, but for example, if we would argue and raise our voice at each other or something, and we said when we communicate in the future, we don't want to ever fight by yelling, or little things like that. They're chinks in a relationship that you need to figure out. So I just think that, or whether, for example, let's say you don't feel supported by your partner and you're worried that they're not going to be ready and willing to give up the things that they love. For example, let's say they go to the pub and they play sport a few nights a week and spend.
We're talking about us, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself last year before you had Fletcher? Not everyone else in the world. What advice would you give them?
Okay, I would give myself the advice of making sure that my relationship is perfect before having a kid. Because I think if your relationship's not close to perfect, then it'll shatter.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of pressure that comes with having a kid.
And did you do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Great. Next question. What is something you've appreciated about each other during this transitional time?
You can go first.
Literally everything you do for us every single day. I think we go to bed every night and I try to remember to say thank you for doing A, B, C, D, E. But, on the days that I don't say it, here's just one large umbrella thank you, because you do so much for us and you always have done a lot for me and, you know, gone out of your way to make my life easier in those times where, you know, I'm running around like a headless chook and I need help with things. Like, for example, I'm running out the door for an event, I'm running late. You'll go downstairs and steam my clothes for me or something, or make sure that, you know, you've like given me some food to run out the door with, you know, gotten like a muesli bar and up and go ready for me or something like that. So yeah, you guys can imagine how much more he's doing now, and every day that's, you know, it's just such a release of burden on my life and my stress levels. I don't have to worry about running downstairs and doing a load of washing at the end of the day because I know that you've got it. So that's definitely something I've appreciated so much, so much. You've been a huge help. And also how I know, I think that this one's a bit controversial because I think it's like people expect a father to obviously father their child and you know, be a parent and do half, but I still think there's an imbalance there. I think that a lot of the time mothers are still doing more, but you're definitely carrying kind of the load of fatherhood, and you're coming to the table and doing the things that, you know, you I guess should do in terms of being there for your child and being hands-on, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And I always knew that you would be. But yeah, seeing it in action and knowing that, you know, it's not just me raising our child, it's you, and it's not like you're doing, you know, a third of it, you're doing half of it. It's yeah, really wonderful, and I very much appreciate that, and I'm very grateful for it.
Pleasure, my love. I guess the thing that I've appreciated the most is, I think maybe in the past, you know, before having a kid, we looked after each other a lot, and we are very, you know, caring, and I think quite selfless when it comes to each other. But I think also when you don't have a kid, you can be, and by you, I mean both of us, you know, you can be quite selfish with your time, what you choose to do with it, how you choose to spend your money, whatever it may be. And I think that since having a kid, I've appreciated sort of your like selfless sacrifice of, you know, all the things that you once liked doing, you know, don't currently do, or, you know, every few hours you sit in a chair and you sacrifice your body and energy to nourish our child. And I think it's like, you know, that's something you can't practice, and you can't train to be like that. It just comes. And I think it's beautiful to watch and see, but you sacrifice your time and energy and body and things that you like to do that you don't currently do for our son, to make sure that he's always looked after and healthy. And, you know, like even yesterday you went out to buy him a play gym because we went to a community health center to have a little checkup, and they had a play gym and he loved it. And so the next day you went out and got it. And when you were out, you were messaging me the whole time, checking if he was okay and if you needed to come home, and, you know, because you're constantly worried about him. And not worried about him, sorry, that's not the right way. But, you know, you're constantly looking after his needs. And you said to me when you're out, you're like, okay, I'll come home now. And I said, no, like stay out, like enjoy your time. But you're so in the mindset now of like, I need to look after him, which is really beautiful to see, because, you know, I think that's a lovely part of parenthood, is when you suddenly just lose all that, you know, all that selfishness and selflessness, and become selfless. And I think that's the thing that I've appreciated most, is watching you sort of dedicate and sacrifice yourself for our son.
Thanks, honey.
Pleasure, my darling.
He loves the new play gym.
He does. That was a very clever purchase.
This is an interesting one. How are you navigating intimacy post-baby?
I mean, intimacy, yet to navigate. So we'll fill you in on that one when it happens.
Guys, what intimacy?
Yeah, guys. New parents will know.
That's not at the list of at the top of your priorities list.
I think the most intimate we get is at the end of the night, where we might hold hands in bed or something, or I'll actually hold Jad's like cold dead hand as she's asleep already. And
you fall asleep before I do.
I'm just mucking around, honey.
I'm holding your cold dead hand.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, intimacy, finding our time together is quite limited at the moment.
It's so hard.
The only thing we really do together is go for walks with him, where we put him in a pram, and we genuinely get to go for a walk and have a chat and hold hands, and that's nice. And it's time sort of without him, like he's in the pram,
He's
and
asleep,
he's
hopefully.
asleep, and so you don't have to worry about him temporarily, which is nice. But other than that, if we're at home, one of us is normally dealing with him, and he's not, as we've if you've listened to previous pods, you realize he's not a good sleeper. So for example, last night when it gets to the early evening, to make sure that he gets a few hours of sleep, if he hasn't been sleeping well in Jay, I put him on my chest, and Jad has some time to have a bath and do some work, whatever she needs to do. And then, when I finish, I take him off, give it to her, breastfeed, and then I'll need to go and shower and cook dinner and, get some work done and stuff. And so you do just kind of live these separate lives, but together. So, yeah, intimacy is difficult at this stage, I would say.
It's limited. It doesn't really exist, to be completely honest. When we used to spend so much time, like Locke and I, that one of the questions were actually about our love languages. I would say both of us, like physical touch is one of them, and we'd often cuddle, or like I'd sit on his lap throughout the day, or I'd go in his office and like give him a kiss throughout, like just the working day. All the time we were constantly holding hands or cuddling or something. Now, oh my God, we get to the end of the day, we're lucky if we've had one kiss, I think there has been days where we've gone maybe the whole day without even kissing once. So it's a huge shift. And I say to him, I think every day now, I say, I miss you. I look at you and I say, I miss you. And it's not that we're not spending time together. It's that we don't have intimate quality time together anymore. And we both know that will come, and, we both know that's going to return with time. But yeah, right now, there's essentially no intimacy.
I think it's circumstantial as well. So I think we're just unlucky in the sense that he's not the best sleeper and struggles to sort of be on his own in a cot. So I can imagine if you had a kid who loved sleeping in his cot, or and perhaps was even in his own room, or and you got 3, 4, 5 hour stints, it's like you would be able to still connect with your partner and do stuff. But we don't really.
We're so hands-on.
Yeah, we don't really have those moments, which makes it difficult, because when he is sleeping, it's during the day, it's often assisted by one of us in some way, shape or form, whether it's a carrier or a pram or whatever it may be. And then in the evenings, it's, you're so zooted and zonked. It's sort of, Jad breastfeeds and then I'll take over so she can sleep, and then, vice versa. And yeah, it just becomes this weird melting pot of passing by each other. And so, yeah, unfortunately, we don't really have much to report on the intimacy front, which is a shame, because as Jad said, we're both very physical touch kind of people as one of our love languages. So it's not nice to not have that, but we still get the 2-minute cuddle here and there, which is.
Do we?
Yeah, I don't know if it really.
2 minutes.
I don't know if it fills. I don't know if it fills the cup enough, but hopefully it improves with time.
That's a part of this journey and parenthood, is that you do learn that sacrifice, and it comes in, a plethora of different ways. And this is one of them, is that we're sacrificing that time that we used to have together all the time. And, that's just, the toss up that you got to make, I guess. And I'm sure that will return back with time as we learn to navigate this new chapter, and Fletcher sleeps a bit more, and we get more time to ourselves. But right now, honestly, no, it's just not present really, which is a bit crap.
And I think just having a newborn is like a natural contraceptive. So, yeah. So
not for everyone. Apparently, some people find it really easy.
I think you thought you would. Remember, you were like, "Oh, I'm going to be so excited to see you as a dad, and it's going to be so sexy." And then I think you kind of, not in that mindset.
I'm. Don't get me wrong. I'm very attracted to you.
I hope so. Fuck, we got a couple of decades together from here.
But yeah, there's no time for that, guys. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're just having one kid then. Did you struggle with the thought of it not being just you two anymore?
Yes. That was one of our biggest things, I think, that we were kind of afraid of, is, oh my God, now that I'm saying it, I can't imagine it not being us three. Now that Fletcher's here, it's like, oh, well, whatever. You just make do. Like you deal with it and you figure it out. But yeah, before Fletcher came along, we'd constantly look at each other and go, oh my God, it's never going to be just us again, ever, you know, if you're lucky, obviously. And that thought was really daunting and kind of scary, like that change. But now that he's here, it's like, well, of course he's here and of course he is a part of our life and we love spending time with him and he's such a beautiful addition to what we had already created together.
Yeah, I think that question is like it's a bit of a yes-no because during Jaz's pregnancy and before when you're talking about kids, you're so excited for the kid to come. So the whole time, you know, you're preparing and you're getting ready and you're buying all these things for it and you are excited. And then I think we would mainly have these moments though where it would be in the evening, we'd be lying in bed chatting or something. You'd be lying on my chest. I'd be playing with your hair, you know, the daily 90-minute play. And, you know, we would think to each other like, you know, this room is, you know, it's really soon not going to be the two of us. And it's not the two of you for a week. It's not like you go on a Kentucky and you got, you know, people around for 2 weeks and then you go back to just being yourselves or something. It's like once this little man comes, it's like it'll never be the same ever again. And I think that is a tough concept to really understand. I don't think you can truly wrap your head around it. And then it comes and you don't have a choice. But yeah, I do think that it was something that we regularly chatted about in the, you know, lead up to having a kid is that, you know, and we're lucky in the sense that, you know, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think we're both quite obsessed with each other and we're lucky to live a life where it's filled with a lot of time with each other from work to play to travel. It's, you know, we're always around each other, which is a blessing. But yeah, I mean, I think that hits you even harder than if you're around your partner all the time and doing absolutely everything with them, that it no longer is you two. Whereas, you know, if you're a little bit more disconnected or had more separate lives, then perhaps it wouldn't have been such a shock to the system. But for us, it certainly was.
Absolutely. But worth it. Entirely.
All right, next, darling, what's your favourite thing about becoming a parent so far?
I really like being a mum. And I've only just recently started identifying as a mum because I said this for the first few weeks of Fletcher's life. I didn't feel like a mum yet, you know? I don't know. I felt
changed?
I think now that he has more of a personality, it feels more like he's his own human versus before he felt like a baby. Does that make sense? Like he's just a baby, not he's Fletcher. Whereas now it's like, oh, okay, Fletcher's kind of shining through now. You can see him be more alert and more interested in things and smile. And even his talking is like, I think yesterday we heard him kind of coo more than he ever has. He did these really long kind of like, ooh sounds that we hadn't heard before.
Jad was naked, that's why. He was like, ooh.
And it was, what's wrong with you?
Sorry, guys. Might have been me doing the ooh.
Are you referring to breastfeeding? Because in any other sense, that's our son, right?
Okay.
So he's grown this little personality. And so now I feel like I guess I'm his mum versus before I felt like I was taking care of a baby. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I get that.
It's a weird way that I didn't expect that, you know.
Sure.
I didn't know that I wouldn't feel like a mum straight away. So I really like that part of it.
Sure. I actually don't think I'm there yet. Like I don't feel like a father. I don't actually feel like I have a son. I just, as you know, I feel like we have this baby which we look after. But, you know, I think it's very weird. You just go from being a kid yourself one day. Like I still feel like a kid myself and I'm sure Jad does too. And, you know, we're quite silly. We don't take life too seriously. And, you know, then suddenly you just have this kid and you still feel like a kid. And, you know, I've spoken to even my parents about this and I said that to them. I said, I don't feel like I have a kid, you know, I feel like one myself. And my dad actually said that he still feels like a kid, you know, and he's, you know, in his 60s and still feels that way. So perhaps it's something that, you know, is lucky that, you know, hopefully you continue to feel like a kid your whole life and, you know. But I think my favorite thing, I would have to say, I've said contact naps. I don't know. They're not maybe the best thing, but I love them. But I would say my favorite thing so far is in the last couple of weeks, since about 6 weeks, he's become like far more responsive whereby, I think their vision actually gets far better. They start to see properly, whereas at the beginning it's kind of blurry. They see black and white. So now I think he's starting to see, and he makes eye contact with you, and he looks at you, and he waits for you to do something, and he reacts when you do something, and he smiles, and you can find little things, whether it's, chuffing his legs back and forward or putting his toes in your mouth and pretending to eat them, and you do little things and he smiles, or he, and it just melts you, and you'll forget about every difficult moment when they smile, and when they start to do it regularly. Like he smiles 100 times a day now, and it's beautiful. So my favorite part is definitely in that stage now at 8-9 weeks where he's becoming a little bit more emotive and responsive, and you see them as a little person now instead of this this little blob that needs help surviving.
Absolutely, that's the most precious thing. Here's our next question. Has the arrival of Fletcher deepened your emotional connection with each other? That's interesting, that one.
Okay.
Because,
let's move on to the next one.
I mean, I want to know how you feel.
Classic.
Before I talk.
Pass it on to the next player, like pass the parcel. I would say that I definitely feel like a deeper form of love. Like you can't explain it really. Like as in I love you, I adore you, I'm obsessed with you, but then you make this life together, you create it, you carry it, I watch you birth it, I watch you nurture him, and it is this just deep love that I feel towards you. And I think even as I watch your relationship progress with him, like sometimes I just sit and watch you guys and I just smile, and and that's beautiful. And sometimes you don't see me do it. For example, when you bath him, I often sit just on the, for visual, I sit on the toilet behind Jad, and she's kind of leaned over and she likes to bath him, and she's talking to him in this cute voice and he's reacting, and I just think that's so beautiful. And I just watch and I sit there just smiling, and not only does that bond me to him watching him, but it bonds me to you even more in a deeper way. And I watch you breastfeed him, and I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in the world, and that bonds me to you. And then I watch you communicate with him and talk to him like he's a little person and ask him questions, and it's beautiful. So I definitely feel a deeper bond and love and connection to you. But I would just say it's a shame that I don't get to, I don't know, maybe show you as much, or I guess I completely agree. I think that like the feelings I have for you are stronger and deeper because it's evolved in that way that you've just described, but it kind of ties in with the intimacy thing in that we don't have time to kind of express that to and with one another in the way that we'd probably like to. So it's weird. Has the arrival deepened your emotional connection? I think that's the word. I don't know if it's deepened the connection, but it's probably deepened our separate feelings for one another. Sure.
But we haven't had time to work on the connection part,
Yeah, I agree. We're not as, maybe connected, but I definitely feel...
And that's just the honest truth.
...more strongly about you as my partner and mother of my kids and wife and, lover. Yeah.
Absolutely, ditto.
All right, guys, ending this week with none other than Ask Mum and Dad. If you did want to ask us something and you wanted my good advice and Jad's average advice, you can write into madaboutyou@novapodcast.com.au. Hi, Lock and Jad. I've just started seeing this chick, and on our third date, she told me that she'd slept with my friend a couple of times when they had a fling last year. He's not my best mate or anything, but we're in the same close friend circle and see each other all the time. I like her, but I often find myself thinking about them hooking up. Help, what do I do? Jadski?
The old friend cest. I think this is a common occurrence, actually. Yeah. I think with friendship groups that have been friends for a long time. And really, at the end of the day, you've just got to ask yourself.
It doesn't sound like she's part of the group, though. It sounds like him and the other bloke are part of a group, and then she's...
Well, she's obviously been a part of the situation at one point. Now she's come back into the situation.
Sure. Yeah. What's your take?
Look, is it that big of a deal that it's going to completely deter you from wanting to see this person? Really? Like, what if they're your person? What if they're your forever person?
I wouldn't be able to find out. I wouldn't be able to do it.
You wouldn't be able to date
No.
that person at all?
No.
If your friend had...
No. If one
Really?
of my close friends, I don't even like thinking
No, but it's
about
not
it.
close friends.
It says they're in a close friendship circle.
He's not my best mate or anything. We're in the same friend circle.
Yeah, close. It says close. Don't forget the word.
Same
It says close
We're the
friend
same
circle and see each other all the time. So they're close friends that see each other all the time. You can't weave it in a
They've
different
only
way.
slept together, though. They haven't dated. So it's not like there was necessarily an emotional attachment, just a physical experience.
It also says a couple of times when they had a fling. So that could, a couple, I mean, it could be 100, could be 5, you know? But also, I just bring it back. If any of my friends in my close circle had slept with you in the past, we would not be here where we are right now. I just couldn't do it.
That's really interesting because I think a lot of people would overlook that detail.
Yeah, but each to their own. As in, I'm
Yeah.
not saying my way is the right way. I'm just saying personally, just
Yeah.
ask mum and dad. I'm the dad. I've got to answer. For me, I don't think I could personally do it. But
I think-
and also he says I'm thinking about it all the time, like them hooking up. So obviously, you know, he's probably on the
it's
same
bothering
page as
him.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, in the same breath, how long ago was it, firstly? You know, that could come into play. Was it 10 years ago? Was it 4 years?
Well, yeah, it actually says last year. So
sorry.
we don't need.
I missed that.
We don't need to ask that.
Okay.
So,
Last year.
so given the information you've got
that's not-
with the question,
that's
can you
kind of
just answer
recent.
it? We don't need a hypothetical of if it was 10 years ago. We can just talk about if it was
Yeah.
last year.
That's a bit recent, sort of. Well, I think it's good of her to like come out and say it on the third date. So she's obviously like taking this seriously to the point where she feels they need to disclose this information. So she cares about you and what you think and feel, which
Yeah.
I think is respectful and
Yeah,
lovely.
it's better
of her.
than not doing it.
I understand your thoughts.
Can you just let's just answer from this. You know, you don't need to do this weird roundabout
I'm trying-
devil's advocate
No,
thing.
but-
Just pretend like you are the dude. So just reverse engineer it, okay?
I'm trying.
I'm a bloke. I've told you that I've slept with one of your close friends last year. Close friends, not someone you knew
Okay.
once. And then you see them all the time. So you go to brunch with them, you're at events, you go to birthday parties, you might have traveled with them, you see them all the time. What's your answer to that?
I still need more context.
Oh my God.
Well, like, did you enjoy it? Like, was it bad? Were
it was
you both
good.
really
we did
drunk?
we did it a couple of times,
You know?
obviously, in the question, so it wasn't bad.
Was
Otherwise-
one of you a rebound? I need a
okay,
bit
so
of background.
in what scenario for you is it okay, and what scenario is it not okay? If I lie to you and say it was bad, then it's okay.
I think the thing that I struggle with is that, for example, like I'll use you for an example. I'm head over heels for you and I love everything about you. And from the get-go, I thought you were incredible. So maybe I would have overlooked that, you know, because I really wanted to be with you and I saw this future with you that I knew would trump whatever that was that happened some time ago. You know, we're all adults, right? People have physical relationships with one another and then they move on and then that's it. It doesn't mean anything it doesn't necessarily mean that it's meant something to that person or to either of them. So whilst, it's hard to, you know, sometimes it pops into your head, you get in, you know, these thoughts that pop in, oh, she's done this with him and, you know, here they are and now they're having a chat in front of me and like that's making me uncomfortable or whatever.
I don't disagree that everyone has a past and, you know, I'm fine knowing that, you know, a partner's been physical with people before, but the element is that they've been physical with your close friend. Like that's the bit that gets me.
Yeah.
Like as in, obviously I don't think that you were, you know, I don't even, yeah, obviously I knew
Where
that
were you
you
going with this?
smooched boys in your past, right? But as in they weren't close friends of
No,
mine
I
in a
understand,
friendship
but
circle.
I'm
So it's
saying-
different, you know what I mean? That's the question.
But
though.
if you think it's forever, surely you can overlook that.
But that's what I'm saying. Personally, I couldn't. So
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
understanding
know.
that you could, and
We
that's
might
great.
just have to
We're allowed to have different opinions. But
agree
I'm
to
saying that
disagree.
we would never have got to where we are. Like I would not have gone on the fourth date with you if you told me on the third. That's something that just personally I wouldn't have.
You would so you're already into me. We've had really lovely times together.
Yeah.
And then I tell you that and you're just, that's it.
Yes.
I don't know about that one.
You don't need to know. It's me, not you.
That hurts my feelings.
We're married. We're going home to our son. You got nothing to worry about. It wasn't the scenario for us.
I'm
So
sad to know that if that was the scenario, you'd hypothetically axe me.
oh my God, you do this or I get in trouble for hypotheticals.
I like to think we are unbreakable.
Okay. Yeah, look, I would say personally, as the dad of this Ask Mum and Dad, I couldn't do it, so I understand that
Mum's saying, go ahead, sweetheart.
You said you find yourself thinking about them hooking up. I don't think that's going to leave your mind without, perhaps a lot of therapy and whether you're willing to do that or not.
A lot of therapy?
Well, yeah, as in like to,
What?
Learn how to not be fazed by
No,
that.
just stop thinking about it.
Yeah, oh my God. All right.
Well, think about it. In relationships, like there's often conflict, right? That you might find something really upsetting that your partner's done or feel betrayed by something, and then you've got to work through that. So what, should you just walk away every time something's a little bit icky?
Yeah, but this is not his partner yet, so he doesn't have to deal with the ickiness. He can just brush her.
I think if you really like her, stick it out. And if you don't really like her, then what are you doing?
Holy moly. All right, man. I'm telling you to, probably leave. I couldn't do it, so I can understand like you'd find it difficult. And Jadé's telling you to, just go off the vibes and energies,
Stop
man.
being a sook. Get over it.
Depends on if it's 10 years or not, even though you've told us it's 1 year. So good luck with that advice. But I hope that helped, man. But honestly, I'm a bit confused, so I can imagine you are too. Guys, thank you again for tuning in to Mad About You. We love having you listen, and I'm excited to come back and do this every week with Jad.
But we'd be more excited if we had heaps of positive reviews on the pod.
Okay, I told you this last week. You can't give a positive review on Spotify.
5
You can
stars.
only just star it.
Yeah, star. That's positive.
Yeah.
More stars, more positive.
Guys, leave us a review, please.
Make it a good one.
We'll see you next week.